By the end of this weekend, there could be a long-term truce between Hamas and Israel, a comprehensive and a radical new path forward, or it could all fall apart at the last minute. Thanks for tuning in for your Daily Dose. Late last night, a delegation of exiled Hamas executive committee members arrived back in Gaza through Egypt. With them, details on a comprehensive three-tiered plan painstakingly worked out this week in Cairo with Egyptian diplomats and a UN envoy. On Sunday, Israel's Security Cabinet will meet in Jerusalem to discuss and deliberate about it. One Israeli official said, likely within 48 hours when it comes to Gaza, we will know whether we plan on regulating or escalating. Joining me now in studio is Middle East correspondent Emily Rose. Which is it most likely to be then, regulate or escalate, based on the details we think we know about the multi-phased plan?
Based on this multi-phased plan, and if we look at all the signs pointing to what's happening here, this could be the biggest breakthrough in these kinds of talks since perhaps the Oslo Accords. There are a few signs here that point to the fact that we're in the next stages, and the elements of that plan that you talked about are first and foremost a cessation of the violence along the Gaza Strip. As you know, there have been these continued attacks of incendiary kites and balloons along the border with Israel. Those need to halt, but what we could see eventually is an airport in Gaza, an opening and a relieving of the siege upon Gaza through crossings, the Kerem Shalom crossing and the Rafah crossing, and perhaps even infrastructure through the UN, so a series of humanitarian projects.
And at the end of that, reportedly included in this multi-tiered plan is perhaps the return of kidnapped IDF civilians and the bodies of IDF soldiers who were taken and are still being held by Hamas. They even taunt the families of these bereaved Israeli families that they're holding the bodies, that they could be brought back to Israel.
Yes, that's one of the things being discussed, and the most interesting element of what's happening here, if you mentioned that delegation of Hamas officials in the Gaza Strip, one of them is Saleh Aruri. He is exiled. The fact that Israel allowed him safe passage into the Gaza Strip is a big deal, and he is one of the founding members of the Al-Qassam brigades, which means that he's probably there to be the linchpin between security officials and the political branch. And then it includes, as you mentioned, it includes elements of the Israeli side, elements of Egypt. The United Nations is a big broker here, Fatah and Hamas.
And the first step is the stopping of the fire balloons and kites. They have slowed down, but even this week, about 24 fires this week alone from these kites. It needs to stop.
That's one of the most interesting elements of this deal. I mean, yesterday we saw Prime Minister Netanyahu say that he is canceling a trip to Colombia because he said that there was tension on Israel's borders. If the Prime Minister, the Israeli Prime Minister, said he wouldn't leave every time there were tensions on Israel's borders, he may never go on a foreign trip. I believe that he's actually staying because he believes that there are deals in the making that he needs to be a signatory.
And he will be there on Sunday for that Security Cabinet meeting. He canceled the trip to Colombia. This could be a very big deal.